Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cognito Key. Today, we're diving deep into the world of cells. We're going right to the edge of life itself to look at two amazing protective layers that keep every cell safe and sound.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? A single cell is this tiny, bustling city of complex machinery, but it's surrounded by a world that can be pretty tough, sometimes even hostile. So, how on earth does it survive? How does it keep that perfect internal balance it needs to live?
Well, the secret lies in a brilliant two-part security system. And to make this super easy to understand, we're going to think of one layer as a mighty fortress and the other as a really, really smart gatekeeper. Together, they are the ultimate defense team. Okay, let's get into it.
So, first up, let's meet our fortress. This is the cell wall. Its job is pretty straightforward. Be the first line of defense, like a tough, rigid suit of armor for the cell.
The most important thing to know about the cell wall is that it's the outermost layer, and it's non-living, just like the stone walls of a castle. Its whole purpose is to give the cell shape, strength, and protection from physical stress, like, say, swelling up if it takes in too much water.
Now, what's really interesting is that not every cell gets this fortress. You'll mainly find it in plants, fungi, and bacteria. And get this, the building material is different for each one. Plants use a tough fiber called cellulose, fungi use something called chitin, and bacteria build their walls from peptidoglycan. That's a key detail, by the way, because that unique bacterial wall is exactly what many antibiotics like penicillin go after. They can tear down the bacteria's fortress without ever harming our own cells, since we don't have one.
And this fortress is thick. We're talking 4 to 20 micrometers. Now, that might sound tiny to us, but on a cellular scale, that is a seriously substantial barrier. It's this thickness that gives it so much of its protective power. But here's a little twist. Even though it's this big, strong wall, it's actually completely permeable. Just imagine a fortress with its main gates left wide open. Small molecules can just waltz right through, no problem. The wall is there for structure, not for screening visitors. That very important job belongs to our next character.
All right, so moving inward, just behind the fortress, we find our gatekeeper, the cell membrane. And unlike that static, non-living wall, this barrier is alive, it's dynamic, and it is incredibly sophisticated. This is absolutely crucial. All living cells have a cell membrane. It is a non-negotiable requirement for life. And its job isn't just to be a barrier, it's to actively control everything that comes in and goes out. It's like the cell's bouncer, its manager, and its communications hub all rolled into one. You see, the cell membrane isn't just a simple sheet. It's this rich, complex mosaic made mostly of proteins and lipids with a few carbohydrates thrown in for cell-to-cell communication. It's this intricate structure that allows it to do so many different jobs.
And notice the difference here. The cell membrane is much thinner than the cell wall, only about 5 to 10 micrometers. Its strength doesn't come from being big and bulky, it comes from its smart, flexible design. It's an intelligent guard, not a giant wall.
And this right here is its superpower. It's selectively permeable. So unlike the fortress with its open gates, this gatekeeper is incredibly strict. It's like it checks the ID of every single molecule trying to get in or out and only lets specific things pass through at very specific times. This is how it maintains that delicate internal balance that is so essential for life.
Okay, so we've met our two defenders. We have the rigid, non-living fortress and the flexible, living gatekeeper. Now let's put them side by side to really nail down their differences. If you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. The cell wall is an inert structure. It's built, and then it just sits there doing its job. The cell membrane, on the other hand, is a living, breathing part of the cell. It's constantly working, using energy, and adapting. It is metabolically active.
Let's just run through this. The contrasts are so clear. The fortress is rigid. The gatekeeper is flexible. The fortress lets pretty much anything small pass through. The gatekeeper is super selective. The fortress is only in some organisms, while the gatekeeper is in all of them. And finally, the gatekeeper has receptors to receive messages, which the fortress doesn't. They really are like night and day.
So after all that, you might be thinking they're complete opposites, right? But the reality is they're not competitors. They're partners. In the cells that have both, they form the perfect team for survival. There's a quote from our source material that just says it all, really. They can be considered as a shell, which protects the inner body from extreme environmental conditions. It's a perfect way to describe this dual-layer system that shields all the precious machinery inside. So here's how this amazing partnership works. The cell wall takes the big hits from the outside world. It provides that brute force structural support. Meanwhile, nestled safely inside, the cell membrane does the delicate, active job of managing exactly what goes in and out, keeping the cell's internal chemistry perfectly balanced. And that brings us to a final thought. We know that animal cells, like our own, do just fine with only the gatekeeper. But think about a plant, having to endure floods and droughts. Could it really survive without its rigid armor? It's their teamwork that allows life to thrive in so many diverse and challenging places. And that's our look at the cell wall and the cell membrane. If this explainer helped clear things up for you, please give it a like, share it with someone who might find it useful, and of course, subscribe to Cognoto Key for more. Thank you so much for joining us.